So today I want to talk about a guidebook series that's really good for beginning people that want to work on vehicles. These books were published a long time ago. You have to find them on the used book market, but what I'll do is I'll give you the ISBN numbers of them to help you look them up. These were made by Petersons, and Petersons was a publisher of a huge amount of different kind of magazines. And they also made specialty paperback books. One thing I really like about this Peterson's Basic Ignition Electrical System is it extensively covers points and condenser systems and the electrical components you'll find on really old vehicles all the way up to vehicles into the 2000s. The next one that is really good is the Basic Chassis Suspension and Brakes. And this covers repairing frames, axles, all kinds of components of the vehicle, and it extensively covers alignment and also brake work, both drum and disc. The drum portion is excellent. You don't see a lot of good information on drum brakes these days. Now, there's a whole series of these. I believe this is number 3 and number 2 of the series. So you can actually look the series up online. So what we'll do is we'll look at the ISBN numbers and we'll take a look inside. So here's your publisher information on the Basic Ignition Electrical System, which is volume number 3. There's your ISBN number at the bottom. That way you can find these. The second one of the series, Basic Chassis Suspension and Brakes. This one is pretty old. It may not have an ISBN number. It was published in 1971. You can see the publisher data here. That'll help you look it up. Now, one thing I really like about the electrical one is it covers all kinds of stuff like coils, points and condenser. It gives you good photographic coverage. It gives you diagrammatic coverage. Shows you how to test things. Gives you a lot of close-up information on points and condenser, the vacuum system. A lot of great information here. Shows you how to set everything up. Now, one thing that's really important for EMP knowledge is the fact that when car manufacturers change from points and condenser to electronic ignition, they use the same motors and they just change the ignition system. So in a lot of older engines in the 70s and 80s, you can actually retrofit them back to points and condenser if EMP is an issue. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, there's a really good section in here that tells you how to do tests and checks on distributor systems. So if you need to look at your points and condenser and your distributor system, it gives you a lot of information on testing this and debugging it. Because I find a lot of mechanics today don't know anything about points and condensers and ignition systems that are based on older 70s model vehicles. Another good point of this book, and something that will also help you when you're working with different types of farm equipment and tractors, is this covers generators and alternators. There are differences between generators and alternators and how those systems work. If you're going to work with older farm tractors and vehicles, especially older trucks, you're going to have to learn how to deal with the differences between them and how to rebuild and test them. Just another look at a lot of the detailed information schematics you have. This kind of stuff saves you a lot of headache and heartache because you don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's all laid out for you. And when you're in SHTF or the economic collapse, anything that you don't have to learn by trial and error is a bonus. Take the bonus while you can. Now we're going to take a look inside the Basic Chassis Suspension and Brake book. It's got a lot of really good information for certain things you're not going to find in other places. One thing I really like about this book is it is centered on regular cars and hot rods. So it does go through and show you how to build frames. And one thing that's important with frames is if you need to build off-road equipment, off-road vehicles, sand rails, dune buggies, this is how you're going to do it. So it shows you a lot of interesting ways to build cages and frames on cars. This book goes extensively into how to do alignments on many kinds of vehicles. It shows you different basic arrangements for steering and axles. On page 59, it has an extensive chart, and it goes through corrections and different type of setups on steering gear. Now, what a lot of people think are alignment problems, in reality can turn out to be bearing problems. It goes extensively into how to change bearings on different components in the drive train, in the steering components of vehicles. This book has a very good section on brakes and on older vehicles that you may run into, salvage, or take in trade, and ones that are still running during EMP conditions. Drum brakes are going to be an integral part of a lot of older vehicles. And this book extensively covers drum brakes, how to fix them, the components. It shows you how they're set up, the pistons, the O-rings. Gives you a lot of information. A lot of books today, it doesn't tell you how to diagnose drum brakes and pads. So these are the pads on the drum brakes. It tells you what the wear patterns mean. Very important information. Now, when I was young, there was a tremendous amount of VW Beetles on the road. You don't see so many today, but almost all of them are EMP resistant. So if you see a Volkswagen Beetle, it may be a car that can be put in running condition during an EMP event. And they have their own unique kind of brake setup. This book covers that. It goes into disc brakes. It actually shows you a diagrammatic breakdown of all the components that are in the calipers, shows you how the pads fit on there. This gives you information you need to rebuild brakes. So as you can see from this book, this is an incredibly useful book. It's small format. You're going to have to buy these on the used book market, but you now have the title, the publisher, and the number. There's a lot of books in this educational series. They will serve you well in SHTF. Please share your thoughts. We'll see you on the next video.